Hey, this is Bijal, and I have a very special guest. Before I introduce him, a few weeks ago, I was part of an entrepreneur networking group, and I came across this individual, and I was fascinated by his topic. I reached out. We've been emailing back and forth, and last week I happened to be at a friend's house for kind of a dinner get together, and lo and behold, he walks in flesh, in person. Please welcome Barry Shore. Barry, thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed here. Barry is the ambassador of joy. He's helped thousands of people around the world find their joy, live in joy. And I've asked him to come here to really talk about a subcomponent, but a part of the conversation, which is how can parents help their kids live in joy? So before we answer that question, how did this journey begin, Barry?
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Now, Bijal, how can I make the categorical statement that everybody who's watching this, the thousands and thousands of people, every single one is good looking? Because by definition, if they tuned in to listen to financial freedom, then they're always looking for and finding the good. The definition of a good looking person is someone who's looking for and finding the good in life. And let's be blunt, the past couple of years have been more difficult for people, but if you continue to look for it, it's there in abundance. That's the genius of real life. Goodness is there, and you can learn to live in joy daily, no matter the circumstances. I'm so honored and happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think now more than ever, being consciously aware that joy is a choice, it's a way we can choose to live. It's so important to get this message out to everybody to watching. So Barry, how did this journey start with joy? When did you first realize that joy existed as a thing?
Well, for me, first of all, I'm happy to tell you I was raised in a wonderful home, two loving parents. I have two younger sisters, and there was joy in our house. Does that mean that every single day was just fabulous? You're running around singing and having, hello, real life, kids, teenage angst, all those things like. But the models that I saw from especially my mother and my father and their friends was one of joyous living. And I want to make mention of two things I made, because you brought it up before we were speaking, Bijal. There is a fundamental bedrock here that we have to get everybody to acknowledge. And that is that if you're a parent, hopefully there are two of you, and you have a child or children, then you have a family unit. And the family is the most important aspect of any child's life. A loving, caring, giving, guiding family is the key to having a successful adult, because that's really what you're raising. You're not raising children, you're raising young adults to be fully functional adults and be of benefit in the world, be givers in the world. So I want to urge everybody to understand this acronym. Family is an acronym that stands for Father and Mother Inspiring Living Wisely. Now, some purists will say, Barry Shore, you can't say wisely. Yes, we'll use the sound. Father and Mother Inspiring Living Wisely. And the wisdom there is the key, because learning things, what we call data, knowledge of things, is very important. You have to know what the rule of 72 is in money. You have to know about compound interest. You have to understand numbers and things like that. That's knowledge. The ability to have wisdom in life is really the key to be able to face any circumstance, and there will always be circumstances. May I share a quick story, Bijal?
Of course, absolutely. I'm just sitting in awe of just your stories are wonderful. So please do share.
Okay, thank you so much. Imagine everybody standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that night be in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed. Not an automobile accident, not a spinal injury. It was a rare disease that took over my body. I never heard of it the day before. and rendered me what's called a quadriplegic. Nothing on my body moved. From my shoulders down to my toes, nothing on my body moved. 144 days in the hospital, 2 years in a hospital bed I couldn't turn over by myself, 4 years in wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, from my hips to my ankles. That was progress. Thank God today, 17 years later, I am able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand, but I still can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. And I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice: positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. And by the way, it's all from one word. This is, people might like this. One word is what animates me and enables me to rise above and utilize the power that I do have, and recognize it doesn't come from me, it comes through me from the good Lord. And that is this word, smile. So if you're just listening to this, the word is smile, S-M-I-L-E. If you're watching it, you can see it's an acronym that stands for seeing miracles in life every day. When your eyes are open, your heart is open, your mind is open to seeing the world in a miraculous way, then you can begin to understand the essential aspect of this word that we call joy. Now, joy is a simple word, 3 letters, spelled J-O-Y. It's an acronym that stands for Journey of You. Every single person has their own unique journey. When you combine 2 people to make a family, and have, again, children, and that family now participates in the journeys of each other, you're creating a light unto the world. That's really what you're doing. Think of each of you as a great candle that it can't be extinguished, that pushes aside darkness, and you do it with the joy in your physical, mental, and spiritual awareness. And later, if we want, Beejel, we'll discuss the sort of the fine distinction between joy and happiness.
Yeah, I want to circle back. Let me tell you a real quick story about the word smile. So I think it was 2011 or 12. We were leading a kind of a group of Americans we would lead this kind of spiritual retreats in India. And we had a group of about 10, 12 Americans that had come with us. And we were going to the slum for the very first time with this group. One of the ladies said, she had just watched Slumdog Millionaire. She goes, I'm going to get very emotional and sad about what I'm about to see. I said, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. Our job when we walk into the slums is to count the smiles. You're going to see more smiles per child in the slums here, where people are living literally in drainage dump areas, than you will in most malls in America. And right after that, my daughter was about 11 at the time. She wrote a song called "Counting Smiles." That's on YouTube. People can look it up. But that word "smile" is so important to us as a family, because you're right. When we're giving or receiving, it can change the day no matter what's going on.
So this is very important, what you just mentioned, Beejel, because you said 2 parts, giving and receiving. Many people, by the way, many people are stuck in one or the other. They are receivers, we call them takers, or they're givers, and they get drained because they keep giving, they don't know how to replenish. The genius of living in joy daily is you can open up and unclog the twin channels of giving and receiving. And when that happens, it is a flow. And when you're in the flow, now you can grow. That's the genius of flow and grow. I'd like to share a funny little insight, if I may. So if I do this when I have large groups or even small groups sometimes, and I ask everybody, how do you pronounce the 3 letters L-O-W? So people think, oh, is it a trick question? No, not L-O-W is low, right? Put an F in front of it. Now, how do you pronounce it? Flow. Okay. Now, if you were to imagine a sunflower, big, beautiful sunflower, what would you call that? Well, people say, well, that's a flower. I said, wait a minute, didn't you tell me that flow, isn't that really a flower? And by the way, that's what a flower is. If you were to look at it, if you could go inside without hurting it, you'd see that it's filled with energy and juices and things that make it grow and bountiful and give forth seeds to feed people. It's a flower. So when you want to think of the human being, when I look at human beings, I see you, Beejel, you're a flower, right? Look at those sparkling eyes, that beautiful smile, those great cheeks. You are flowing with energy.
You know, and it's fascinating because we can choose how the energy flows through us and emanates through us, right? So joy is an expression of that flow, right? We are the flowers of that energy, and we can consciously choose how that flower appears, whether it's going to be in joy or a smile or a frown in the ground. So I love that. But before we go on, I think it's good to define the difference. There is a distinction between joy and happiness. Can you just kind of expand on that, please?
Right? So most everybody, and unless you really begin to work with it and think about it, I've had the opportunity of working with this for more than half a century. Half a century. uh, I mention in my book, what is my book? What is it called? In case anybody's watching the video here, it's called The Joy of Living, How to Slay Stress and Be Happy. So I mentioned in the book the distinction. To me, happiness is more of a outside stimulus. Joy is like an aquifer, a reservoir that's always inside of you. And I use this to make the distinction. There are two wonderful words in our lives, something called excitement and something called enthusiasm. So let's take a look at this. So excitement is two words, CITE, which means a thing, and EX, outside. So just think of take a pot of water, put it on the stove, put on the heat, and after a while it's going to bubble and boil and going along very nicely. Maybe make some tea, right? Now, if you were to lower the flame or remove the pot of water, what's going to happen? The bubbles are going to stop because there's no more outside force acting on it. It's like watching a football game, the last 13 seconds of a football game, and the other team beat us. That's excitement. People go, yo. Enthusiasm, same two words, THU and an EN. EN means inner. THU is the Greek word for God, Theo, THU. When there's a God-centeredness inside of you, enthusiasm can also wax and wane, but it's always there. It's always part of you. That's the difference. Happiness is more of a, we'll call it a temporal situation. Enthusiasm is the constant inside of the human.
You know, there's a very popular film, and I'm sure many people have heard of it, The Pursuit of Happiness. And while it's inspirational on many levels, I also think it can mislead people in terms of that pursuit can never end, right? So if we believe that the happiness is outside of us and we have to pursue it, we kind of missed the experience of joy, which is inner.
Beautiful. And by the way, I'm a big fan of, and again, the language that we use, because it's from the Declaration of Independence, is 18th century language, which we may not have the same understanding of when it was written, the idea of pursuit of happiness, but I prefer the idea of attracting happiness. And by the way, it's a great segue because it goes to money. The whole point, if you people want to make money, so they think, well, I have to go out there and hustle for it and grab it as I run after it, which, by the way, you can probably accomplish a lot running and doing and there, but you'll accomplish more in a greater way, in a more stress-less way by attracting money. We have
So
what's called.
let me call a timeout for a second, and I want to play devil's advocate, right? Someone might be watching this going, I'm struggling to pay my bills. I lost my job. This is happening and that happening. Man, I don't feel joyful right now, right? And the belief, and I believe the popular belief is that when we achieve, when we get the money, when we get the right job, when this happens, we make that happen, then we can feel joy, right? But that's not quite the way
Not
to look at
only
it.
that, you will miss the boat because you weren't enjoying the journey. I don't want to get esoteric, but I'll work on the word journey in just a moment. Let's dive a little deeper into something you just did. By the way, while you were talking about the person who struggling to pay the bills, may lose the house, your whole facial structure changed.
Yeah,
And you said those words. So you can't say, oh, the person lost their job and then it doesn't work. There's a whole shrinking. And we want expansion. Joy expands the consciousness. It calms the senses. It fills the heart with might and power. Joy enables you to navigate the most turbulent seas. Joy is the wellspring of life. So let's take a look at an amazing word. The word is stress, S-T-R-E-S-S. By the way, before the pandemic, stress was one of the most searched for words on the internet. During the pandemic, except for COVID and vaccine, it's the most searched for word on the internet because everybody's feeling it, right? And after the pandemic, when nobody's wearing a mask and you're talking a couple of years, whatever time is, stress will always be here as part of life, the human condition. Let's unpack the word. Stress, S-T-R-E-S-S. I am fond of using words to find what I call the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant essence of them. Stress stands for stomach turning reality, enabling self-sabotage. Ah! You didn't lose the job, might lose the house. The cousin committed suicide. The kids are going crazy. They're not in school. The country's falling apart. Now, whether you do it outwardly like that or you're feeling it inside, that's the stress that people feel. And 96% of it is real, but the 4% that is fear, false expectations of being real, adds fuel to the fire, right?
absolutely.
Now we're going to have the Barry Shore approach to stress. Same word. Stomach turning reality. Same start. Yes, may have lost your job, may lose a home. The kids, your cousin committed suicide. The kids are going crazy. They're not in school. The country's falling apart. I agree. Enabling self-success. Self-success, yes. Because the 6 most important words, Beejel, that anybody will ever learn that will enable them, family, parents, sharing with children, raising them up in wisdom, is the following. The 6 most important words you could ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation. Dire, I mean, we just listed a whole bunch of stuff that's really tough.
The word choice is so important, and I think it's a big part of this theme here. When I remember when I first became a father, and I held my daughter in my hand for the very first time, I looked at this baby as the most magical moment in life, right? And I don't know if I use these exact words, but something like, "I want you to be happy," right? That's the words that kind of came to me. I want my child to be happy. The irony is that we don't actually really teach our kids the art of joy, even the art of happiness. Nuances aside, but and that's what fascinates me. That first, and then whether it's that we don't know how, we don't know that's possible. But let's talk about that for a second. How can parents teach the art of joy to their kids? I know, and I know we've
So
talked about this. So
compare joy to money. I think most thinking beings would agree that you're not born with the ability to understand money, how to grow it, how to utilize it, how to make it. It's a skill set, right? Unless you study it, you're not going to be very proficient at it. Am I correct? You
yeah,
need to study how to become financially free and what it means to grow money, use money, leverage money, et cetera, et cetera. It's a skill set. Well, guess what? Joy is a skill set. Being happy is a skill set. It needs instruction, it needs wisdom. So in my humble opinion, there are three factors that are predominant when a parent or parents, a family, wants to enable child or children to grow and live in joy daily, no matter what. And the three fundamentals are the following. And I'm being very specific when I say this. The first one is breathe. Barry, should I say breathe? Yeah, breathe. Of course I breathe, I'm alive. The way that we breathe is the natural process of breathing. No one has to teach you how to breathe. Matter of fact, you have to think about it. You spend all your day thinking, I have to breathe, and you're not. Okay. Thank God it's automatic. However, very few people, I'd say less than 1% of the people I've ever met in my life until I teach them, have ever understood or been involved with what we call diaphragmatic breathing. But nobody knows where the diaphragm is, and they can't spell it. So I call it tummy breathing. And when you learn how to breathe slowly, and we're talking about something that takes maybe 32 seconds, maybe a minute and a half, the ability to breathe in slowly in through your nose, deep into your tummy, and let it out through your mouth slowly, again, takes 8 seconds, 10 seconds. And to do that 4 times in a row, and to consciously and conscientiously do this, Beejel, day in and day out, twice a day, once in the morning and once before noon, once after noon. It will give you, as a parent, a calm, aware mind. Because when you're dealing with children and you're dealing with people who act like children, you need a calm, aware mind. So breathing is an important aspect. And when you begin to do it, you can now pass it on even without having to instruct initially. Because when I work with children, I work in 3 age groups. 3 age groups. We talked about this: under 8, 8 to basically 12 or 13, and 13 to 20. You don't start with an 18-year-old. Now, if you've never done it before, you'll start with an 18-year-old. But the point is to begin as early as possible and to model it. You don't have to sit cross-legged with your hands like this. You can sit, you can stand. It's the ability for you to breathe slowly and clearly, deeply, and then out of curiosity, child or children will ask. And you can share with them. This is what it does. It helps you be calm, because there are always going to be times where, do you know what this one said? And that would happen, this and feeling. So breathing is an important skill set. That's one. Number 2 is what I consider one of the most important aspects of the human condition. And especially in the past couple of years, but even before that, it was more rare, unfortunately, than common. And that is the following. Ready? Laughter. Laughter. I mean, laughter. Consciously, conscientiously, making sure you laugh at least 2 times a day. Now, again, if you have to schedule it on your phone and things like that, okay, until you learn to become more automatic, I laugh regularly. Laughter frees the whole soul. It enables your being to move. It enables you to become a flower. And when you laugh, guess what happens? It's contagious. So I like contagious stuff when it's the good stuff. You don't have to wear a mask, unless you want to wear a mask that has a smile on it. But laughter, especially in a family setting, Beejel. See, if you can't feel safe in the family to laugh together, when are you going to feel safe? I mean, safe in the sense that express yourself, laugh. If you can tickle yourself, do it. I can't tickle myself. Some people can, but I love tickling my son and grandson's feet. Because you laugh, you start tickling. Sometimes they say, stop, please, Papa. Okay, but laughter, breathing and laughter.
So let's go back to our family of Johnny for a second, and say, Barry, we don't have anything to laugh about. It feels you're saying that, but it feels fake for us to laugh right now based on what we're going through. What do you? How do you? What do you say to that?
So I won't say the cliche, fake it until you make it. I'm not going to say that. However, I'm going to tell you a story. The man's name was Norman Cousins. Norman Cousins, in his time, back in the late 70s, was a very famous American author, raconteur, means he gives speeches and such. He was the editor of the Saturday Review of Books. I mean, this is a big player in the American scene, in the intelligentsia. He fell ill after coming back from a trip to the Soviet Union, actually. He wasn't poisoned, but he fell ill. I mean, so much ill that he was completely debilitated. He was declining. And his doctors, because again, he was very well-known, wealthy fellow, doctors came in and said, look, I'm sorry to tell you, but we don't know exactly what it is, but it's fatal. You probably don't have more than 2 or 3 months. So what did he do? He said, well, I don't have only 2 or 3 months. Okay, I put all my affairs in order and say goodbye to my kids. And he said, if I got myself into this somehow, in other words, you hear what I'm saying? I got myself into it. My mind works and controls my body. I can find a way to get out and through it. And he wrote a book, by the way, on this whole experience. This is very famous. You can Google him and look up YouTubes and all kinds of stuff. Laughter is the best medicine. What he did is he got his doctors to agree. He was in UCLA, which is the University of California in Los Angeles, a very famous school. And he was in the, bear with me just a moment, okay? Okay. Thank you. And he got his doctors to agree to let him bring in those days, reel-to-reel projectors, again, going back 50 years or so. And he ordered in movies, anything and everything that he could remember that would make him laugh. Laurel and Hardy, the Abbott and Costello, the Hardy Boy, little gangsters, whatever he thought could make him laugh. And guess what? He was in pain, Beejel. And he found that by using this mechanism of laughter, he could lessen his pain by another 10 minutes in the day. And after a week, it went to 20 minutes and 30 minutes. And he realized something's going on here. This is good. I'm feeling a little better, still in pain. His doctor says you don't have more than a couple of months. And he said, thank you, goodbye. They kicked him out of the hospital because he's taking up space. He moved into a hotel and he kept doing it and he kept doing it and he kept doing it. And yes, lo and behold, he reversed it. He healed himself with laughter.
And this comes back to something you just said earlier, Barry, which is choice, right? Which is we can choose to push it away and stay stuck in that paradigm, or we can choose to create opportunities for laughter to that invite that flow back into our life.
6 words. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. And when I came out of the hospital, again, I came out of the hospital after 144 days, quadriplegic. Just go look it up. Quadriplegic, nothing in my body moved. Nothing. Couldn't move. Nobody knew it was going to be that way the rest of my life. Doctors came by, Mr. Shore, you're never going to walk again, but we'll have things that can help you. And I'm not going to yell at them. I didn't believe them. I'm not going to yell at them because I'm just a guy, right? But I said, in my mind, I developed a very important phrase, which I have shared with, I'm happy to tell you, thousands of people who are in really tough medical situations and psychiatric situations. And the phrase is the following: diagnosis is not destiny. Diagnosis is not destiny. How you choose to respond to any given situation doesn't mean, well, look, I'm a quadriplegic now, I'm swimming 2 miles a day, which I do. But It's 17, 18 years. Who knew? What do you do? How do you do? Okay, thank God I'm blessed. Let's go to number 3, practical tip and tool. This is so important, fundamental. Learn to say 3 times a day the 2 most powerful words in the English language. Learn to say these words consciously and conscientiously 3 times a day. You do this, you're going to help you, your family, your friends, and the whole world. You're going to make everything better. The 2 most powerful words in the English language are thank you, thank you, thank you. Give you an example. Imagine walking into the coffee shop, no mask, no stuff. You walk in, you order your fancy latte, you sit down, somebody brings it to you. Thank you, right? You walk in the coffee shop, you order a fancy latte, a few minutes go by, nobody brings it to you. You go to the counter and say, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot, we're so busy. We'll bring it to you. Sit down, a few more minutes go by, somebody brings it, you still say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop and it's raining out. Somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining and somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You're stuck in traffic, you're late for an appointment, somebody cuts you off. You say, thank you. You get up in the middle of the night and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, not that other word, thank you. Because thanks stands for to harmonize and network kindness. To harmonize and network kindness. When you become the kind conduit and you recognize everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about, therefore be kind always. That's the genius of life. When you do this, these 3 things, you will now gain the wisdom that you can begin to share because you're going to model for your child, your children, and their friends and your friends. And that's
Yeah,
what
I love that. You know, one of the things I love to do is when we, I mean, when I sign for a bill or invoice, is I the word thank you, right? It's, even if it's a receipt, and it's so many times amazing how many times the teller will see that signature, and it just brings a smile to their face, right? So, but also it connects back to the Japanese art of known as arigato money, which if you go on YouTube and put those words in, you'll see that the thanking money when it's flowing out and thanking money when it's flowing in, both ways. And it kind
you're
of goes back to
a
what
flower. You're a
you're a flower.
flower.
Become a flower. Become a flower. Barry, that's just been so awesome. So let me ask you this question: what is the connection? People might be thinking, what's the connection between joy and money, right? And I'm kind of leading this a little bit because I believe that joy is a amplifier, not an attractor and amplifier of money. But you can put it probably in better words than I can put it.
No, you said it absolutely beautifully. It is so fundamental. I have an acquaintance, I won't call him a friend, an acquaintance, who mentioned that he helps people grow large businesses. He's enormously successful in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And the people that he guides and such, because I've heard him talk this way, and I have a couple of friends that have worked the program done very well. If you're a jerk today, and you're going to be worth $100 million in a couple of years, you'll just be a bigger jerk. You think, oh no, when I'm worth money, I'll be nicer. Where you are today is the way you're going to be with more money. It's not going to shape you. Matter of fact, you might even become stingier. You only have 100 million and somebody needs a donation for $1 million. $1 million? 1%. So the process of being enjoyed today, Beejel, is what enables you not only to attract the money, but to be that conduit, what I call a cog, a conduit of good, or a child of God. People think that a cog is just a little thing in a big machine. That cog means the machine doesn't work without you. So when you're living in joy, you're a channel of goodness. So as you attract and you grow, and it will happen, it's a law. The law of attraction. Law, by the way, is a great word. People hear the word law, they shrink because they think, the siren and the court, and erase that, because we work in the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant essence of words. Law stands for love and wisdom. love, and wisdom. That's a law, the law of attraction. Money will begin to flow towards you because you're a flower. And as you grow with the money and enjoy, and you recognize that by giving, giving enables more to happen. Counterintuitive, counterintuitive, but true. It's a biblical principle, but it applies, biblical principle applies to everybody, everywhere. The more you give, the more you will be able to receive, and you will, when it's done in joy. Remember, joy stands for journey of you. What's your journey? You're the one who's going to make it. And if you're working with child or children, or people acting like children, or you want to influence other children, you become the model. The way you are is what they're going to see. They're going to act like. They want to emulate. As my dear friend Irma used to tell me, teach with everything you do. If necessary, use words. Teach with everything you do.
And that's a beautiful place to bring this, because truly the secret of teaching how our children and teens to live in joy is it's got to start with us, right? We have to make that choice that when we choose to live in joy, that is the secret. That is the way to unlock joy in our kids for their future. And when we can achieve that, it unlocks one of the fundamentals that's truly going to help them in life, in all areas of their life. You know, whether it's money, the mindset, the emotions, the relationships, the physical health. That joy is something we can tune into no matter what, when we just follow a few basic principles that you've shared with us today. So Barry, I know that you have a free course. I'm going to put the link for that course, somewhere in the chat or description. But I just want to, first of all, just thank you for sharing. Well, hang on, before we end, we've got to talk about the word share, because we don't keep this to ourselves. So can you please explain the importance of the word share? Because without share, we don't get to spread this word of joy.
Right. SHARE is a great acronym that stands for spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy. Because that's what joy is. That's what money does. Rejuvenating energy. Share. Spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy. Thank you, thank you, thank you, wonderful Beejel.
Barry, you are a sharer of joy. You're a sharer of wisdom. I so appreciate this opportunity to chat with you. I know this is just meant to be a conversation between me and you, but every time we've got to speak, wisdom just sprouts out, or wisdom flowers with an emanation of joy every time we have a conversation. So hopefully for those folks who are watching, they're taking some real value away from this conversation. Barry, again, thank you so much for sharing your joy with us today.
Humbled and honored. I'd like to leave us, if we may, with two things, a hug and a blessing. So let's tell everybody HUG, H-U-G, stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. Are you ready, Beejel? On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. And our
Thank
blessing.
you so much. I'm going to give myself a virtual hug, because I know that's what you're giving me right now. Barry, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you real soon.
Best wishes, everybody. Bye.